Ulrich Brueckner, who is in Dresden for us. Hi, Uli, thanks so much for speaking to us. I mean, in your opinion, is this a fair trade-off, if I can put it that way? Will the benefit to the economy actually offset the potential risk to society if this virus spreads further?
Well, this is something no one can say, because this is another trial and error step in which the government is, based on what we know from the data, trying to rebalance the situation. We have been lucky, as it was said before, that the pandemic came later and we bought time by social distancing. Now the numbers look good since Easter, and that is the reason why the government, in close coordination with the governors of the Federal Republic of Germany, decided to slowly move in a direction of getting back to, we still cannot call it normality, but to have some forms of easing.
Right. So what kind of indicators are you looking for then to say, okay, it's time now to take the next steps, ease this further, and actually get businesses and industry back to work?
Well, we learned a lot about statistics and about methodology, and instead of listening to politicians who pretend to know better, we listen more to experts and people with medical knowledge, and they inform us what we should pay attention to: the reproduction rate, how many people can be infected by someone with a virus. All these indicators are now publicly known. And since Easter, we have seen numbers that allow to move slowly in that direction. We also have 11,000 intensive care beds that are empty. So the health system is not working at its limit. And given the situation before, that the weather was far worse and people simply stayed at home because it was cold and not nice out there, it will be now interesting to see how self-discipline continues in this country.
Right. And let me ask you, as far as the economy itself is concerned, what sectors are you really most worried about? Who might not recover if this goes on much longer?
Well, it was very interesting to see that the first reaction was not like in 2008 in the financial crisis, when it was all about systemic giant corporations and financial institutions that needed to be rescued. But this time the focus was on self-employed and single owners of businesses, that they simply don't have the stamina to survive if the lockdown lasts longer than a month or two. So there was an immediate response from the government to send money in a very unbureaucratic, very un-German way to people who urgently needed cash. And that helped also to keep the mood high. But there are so many small businesses that will face a lot of problems. Tourism is a big problem, hotels, restaurants, small shops. That is why the situation today with everything less than 800 square meters can open, and hopefully that allows people to also support their local shops in the neighborhood.
Okay, last question. I mean, hindsight is always 2020, and I know this is far from over, but so far, having observed your government's response to this and the progression of the virus itself in Germany, where are you saying, okay, this is where we did it right, and oof, this is where we got it wrong?
Well, what I very much like is that we don't have this war rhetoric of superior, knowledgeable politicians who treat citizens as children that can be scared by orders, or that you're sent to prison if you violate something. People got full transparency that we know very little, that we should use our brain, do the right thing. And even if we are now forced to wear masks and it's becoming a fashion item to have a mask to go to grocery shops, this is something not to protect ourselves, but to protect others, since we simply don't know who is carrying the virus. So it creates a strong feeling of belonging, and it's us stakeholders who do the right thing, and it's not against the order of a government, and it's a sport to violate a rule. So this is something that worked very well. What worked terribly was the situation at the Greek-Turkish border, that because of the virus, we are not able to help people who are in terrible humanitarian conditions On Saturday, it was news that 48 kids, unaccompanied minors, were flown from the border to Germany to give them some protection while there are still 50,000 people in terrible humanitarian conditions. This is a shame, and a rich country should be able to coordinate things better and quicker.
Ulrich Brueckner, thank you so much for joining us there from Dresden. We really appreciate your insight.